Sort of welcome was rare. Though the political establishment had stood up to the far right, the episode had revived public hostility towards immigrants. Tensions were most acute in areas like Leicester, where many of them had settled.
They're coming over thick and fast now, and I'd like to think that they're going to put a halt to it shortly.
Well, I think it's about time the government took over its responsibilities and sent these people back to their country of origin.
I think our friend Enoch's got the right idea there, and the National Front.
The attempt to sideline race as a political issue had failed. To the horror of the main parties, the National Front grew rapidly and became a highly visible political force.
And what are the leaders of Britain doing today? They've opened the floodgates of our country to an invasion even more foreign than that might have threatened us in 1914 or 1940.
Immigration! No! Repatriation!
Yes! How's Britain's
After 1972, National Front membership tripled in only 2 years. By the mid-1970s, far-right candidates were winning up to a third of the vote in some local elections.
It was a kind of poison that surrounded us. It affected everybody. Everybody felt you had to kind of almost be on one side or the other, and there were kind of, as people got drunk in pubs at night, you know, these arguments would come to the fore and get quite nasty. That was the time of the National Front having all these provocative marches.
Up your arse, that's where it is. Get back to Moscow.
We'll probably move it up the pole a little bit when we come to walk, but that's about it. So the flag won't be too long, and I'll have it behind me a bit, I expect. And that grips quite well with the elastic bands there.
We're gonna send the flags back! We're gonna send the flags back!
What a lovely day we're going to have. What a lovely day with our racialistic slogans.
The BNP used to come to my meetings and try to break them up and shout me down and all the rest of it, and presented a fairly kind of intimidating face. And then they announced they were going to hold a march, which of course was going to be through the very middle of the immigrant settlement in Hitchin. We decided to invite the people of goodwill to simply line the route of the march with their backs turned to the march. It was marvellous because the impact was simply deadened all the way through, yet the immigrant community knew that they had English people who were willing to associate and identify with them.
The far right sought to capitalise on specific local tensions.
We were fostering for Westminster, Haringey and Hertfordshire, and many more black children were in care than white, so we were getting about 70% of black children.
These are the two you've got.
Yes. Oh, darling. Oh, yes, they're lovely. But they have their moments.
You know, you're going to get some right funny looks when you take them through the town, because you're not a match for colour, are you?
Mr. Tatlock. Mind you, he could be right. You know some folk.
I think I'm quite capable of dealing with that.
Yeah, but you haven't tried it yet, have you?
Having been here a few months and had a few coloured children in, I had one coloured child who went to play out on his bike in the road because the garden wasn't paved. And then that's when we had an objectionable phone call from a neighbour saying, if you don't want your foster child killed, you better bring him in. And then she got up a petition around the neighbours saying that the house properties would drop if we had coloured people in the road.
The Watsons also received hate mail.
Don't take these kids in, because you will have to see us. These kids have been sent here for one thing, to take our jobs over. We, the white people, say halt before it is too late, albeit on your own head. You are being watched.
Then the National Front saw it in the local paper, and so they put a leaflet round all the neighbours, invited them to a public meeting against the Watsons having a coloured ghetto in Oakroyd Avenue.
The campaign against them obliged the Watsons to fight a 3-year legal battle simply to preserve their right to foster black children as well as white.
Come on, Vernon, we'll all go for one. Piggyback. We go. One big happy family, all right?
Well, sort of average family anyway.
Meanwhile, the political pressure for change was growing, fuelled by less overt but more widespread discrimination.
I rang up about a job, secretarial work. The woman we had a good conversation, we started talking about life in general. She said, come along, I went there, I spoke to her secretary as soon as I got in. I went into the office. She said, "Who are you?" I said, "I was just speaking to you on the phone half an hour
But
ago."
you didn't sound like a wog on the telephone,
No.
presumably. Yeah.
She looked at me and she said, "I'm very sorry, the job is gone."
Labour's incoming Home Secretary was Roy